program. My name is Kareem Kanji. I am here with another fellow entrepreneur that is working here at Network Orange, Tomas Romita. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Excellent. Thanks for taking some time out.
Awesome. No
You're
worries.
I haven't seen you all day. You've been like cooped up in here
I hide away so that I can actually get some
and getting work done.
some work done. Yeah.
Awesome. So, before we get into what you do, actually I'll tell people you're the founder of a Canadian custom clothing company
Yes.
called Made.
Yes.
Made, is it Made or Made Clothing?
I think we're going by Made now.
Called Made, M-A-D-E.
Yes.
But your sort of journey through entrepreneurship starts way back. You went to Queen's University.
Yep.
What did you study there?
I studied commerce.
What does that mean, commerce? You studied
Commerce, a fancier term, I think, for business.
Okay.
And you cover all the basics. Yeah.
And you got your CA along the way, right?
Yeah. So when I graduated,
Okay.
I went into public accounting.
Public accounting.
Um,
You still do that at Queen's, or?
You can take a couple courses there, but it's just a general undergrad, and then you go on to a firm and write your exams and do 3 years of work experience. So I did that in 2008,
Okay.
and I left there June 3rd, 2011. So
All right. And so 8, 9, 10, that's like almost 4 years.
yeah,
At PwC,
yes,
we won't advertise them anymore after that.
okay.
What did you enjoy about it, public accounting?
I think one of the best things is that you get to go into a business
Mm-hmm.
at a varying stage. So they might be successful, they might be big, they might be small, they might be struggling, and you get to take a look at their financial statements,
Mm-hmm.
take a look at how they make money. There's really fascinating ways how different companies monetize.
Yeah.
More than that, you get to look around. How do they lay out their office? Are
Mhm.
people happy? Things that you wouldn't necessarily, and have nothing much to do with the books, you can kind of emulate when you go to start your own business and say, okay, this worked really well, this system, or they met every Friday, or they had, a foosball table. So you get to be a fly on the wall in multiple businesses. I
Interesting.
think that's something that, you don't get to see very often as an entrepreneur. You're so holed up in your own business. So that definitely is consistently brought a lot of value, I think, going forward. And just acting like a professional, even though when we went there we were all so young, but you develop a lot of professional skills, and I think when you're starting out, people will value that.
So when you were at Queen's, and then after that you got your designation, and you were at the firm, did you always know that you wanted to start your own business?
Yeah.
And did you always know that it was going to be this?
Yeah. As of I think 2007, I went to Hong Kong on exchange.
Okay.
Got some custom clothing, and I was hooked. And like everybody else, really, when they go there, it's the thing to do in such.
Clothing is the thing to do in Hong Kong.
Yeah, get it. Well, Hong Kong, clothing is shopping is a national sport.
Okay.
I always say so. That's where I got exposed to the idea or the concept.
Yeah.
Maybe just the product, but then the concept started brewing in my mind, and I came back. I did a couple of projects,
Mm-hmm.
focused on the business idea, any chance I could, but I just never took that leap.
Okay.
And which I think was fair. I thought getting my CA was my insurance policy, so that I could go off, pay down my student debt.
Yeah.
Just get accustomed to living in Toronto, get some experience behind my belt, so that whatever I knew I wanted to go into entrepreneurship and just start my own business, probably in that category,
Yeah.
that I would have that fallback position, which I thought was prudent at the time.
So you didn't necessarily get your CA and get that experience because that experience was going to help you. It was more along the lines of, if I mess up with my entrepreneurship journey, at least I've got a designation I can go back. What was...
When you say it like that, it sounds like a...
No, I know.
But, yeah.
You're going to be out of screen.
I mean,
Go ahead.
But, no, I think it's a great, you can go to a lot of jobs
Yeah.
when you graduate from commerce, and we're lucky at Queen's that, companies are coming in to recruit you.
Mm-hmm.
But I just looked at all the other ones, and you weren't leaving with anything concrete. Now, that's not fair to say because experience is the most concrete thing you can get.
Sure.
But having those letters behind your name was, I think, another round of education, and it definitely was. Writing those exams has been one of the most grueling things I've ever done, but it teaches you a lot about yourself. So I definitely, second to going into other businesses and seeing how they work, just putting yourself through these exams that are quite tough and that are national based, that are you can only write them once, so your back's up against the wall. I think those things definitely.
You can never write them a second time?
You can. There's a limit, but you have to wait a year. And
I see.
So it was another scenario where failure wasn't an option. So I think it had a lot of other benefits. But at the time, it was mainly an insurance policy against riskier.
Okay. All right. So where did you? Why did you know ahead of time that you wanted to own your own business? What was it? Was it something, your background, what your parents did, or, what was it that you said, you know what, I am going to own my own business?
It sounded cool as a kid.
Yeah.
And I think entrepreneurs are portrayed in a very positive or venturing light. In movies and TV, and why not? I think, and I, if you look at my past report cards, authority and I.
You've always said that.
Well,
you would have okay.
There was some. I was always one to question it, and I think I liked being a leader. I still think I have huge amounts to learn on that front, but I definitely saw it as an awesome place to be, and you can create. You can be an artist and not necessarily being a visual artist or a music artist. You could be an artist in that you can create something of value and see it work.
And it was only until you went to Hong Kong that you said, okay, it's going to be in clothing.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, and I think before then I was getting nervous because you're graduating soon and you didn't have your big idea. But I'd spoken to a lot of people, and you can take anything. You can start a good landscaping company and start your own business, but I didn't really want to do landscaping. So it was great to get that idea, that eureka moment. But I think you'd do it. I would have done it anyways.
Clothing?
No, if you'd asked me when I was a kid, I would have never thought retail. I would have never thought clothing. I would have never thought even fashion.
What were you thinking before that?
That's a good question. I don't know. I actually don't know.
Interesting.
So it's been a lot, but now that I do it, I love style and menswear, and I was like, looking at a GQ and being like, I'd love to have all that. So that Bond style, like lifestyle, I think appeals to pretty much every guy, every dude. So I can't say that I'm special in that way. But.
So in 2010,
you
at the end of 2010, you started Made.
Yes.
Did you leave right away from PwC to start? What was that sort of transition, and what was it where you said, okay, now I'm jumping full time?
Well, I qualified, so you get to qualify. So you have to do your exams, you have to pass those, and then you need a certain amount of hours in various categories. I pretty much knew that as soon as I qualified, I was going to start, because I knew that practicing accounting beyond the minimum requirements was not for me.
You didn't enjoy that part of accounting? You enjoyed going to clients, you enjoyed seeing how businesses operate.
I enjoyed interacting with the clients, I enjoyed all of that, but when it was time, it was time. And it's grueling. I mean, you're working 80 hours a week, and for me, working 80 hours a week isn't necessarily a problem. I definitely work that.
You're doing that now?
Yeah, all the time, every time. Busy season is January, March for accounting. Every season is busy season now, but it's fulfilling, and I felt like I was just going to put off the inevitable. And I like that concept, and there's a good quote in one of my favorite books, Think and Grow Rich, which is you got to burn the bridges behind you.
Yeah.
And so I knew that if I just put myself in it, that was the only way I was going to do it. I wasn't going to go home and do a little bit here and there. I just didn't think that was the right way. So about January, I decided, all my life I've been saying I'm going to be an accountant.
Okay. January of 2010?
January of 2011.
January 2011.
So the 2010 thing, it's more, I was like, okay, I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
And then I started just not lying to people, but saying, yeah, so I'm going to start a business as soon as I qualify. And they're like, oh, cool. And they're giving you high fives. And then you're like, well, I don't want to be a liar. So that helped motivate me.
You told enough people that you had to
be
good for your word.
You have to be good for your word. And you can use that and exploit it. I tell people that story all the time because I think it's a good way to, and also just to test your idea. Oh, sure, let me know. I'll buy a shirt. And you're like, okay, well, that's one customer. Did they end up buying a shirt? It was enough to get the momentum going. And so by May 23rd or May 20-something, I qualified. And June 3rd, the following week, once I had wrapped everything up,
You gave in your resignation?
I had already given it.
You had already given it?
I got off the phone to hear I qualified and got on the phone to give my notice. Because at that time, I'd had the momentum.
Nice. Enough people were going to buy shirts from you.
I thought at the time it was going to be quick, 1 year, a lot of growth and all. And
so what did you do? Like, was there any sort of planning previous to May in terms of, did you have to find suppliers? Did you have to find, how you were going to, how the business was going to operate? What did you do, the months prior to you calling your boss and saying, here's my 2 weeks?
Suppliers were good, so I remember waking up out of bed and being like, I was asleep one night and I was like, I planned by writing things down, but I knew, and you feel in your gut, that's not actually tangible progress. And so one night I got up and I'm like, I'm not going to go to bed until I've sent out as many emails as I can, Googled as many, suppliers as I can, and that's what got the progress really going, is when I could find my first supplier. And then before I had quit PwC, I had met with 1 or 2 suppliers and basically learned how to measure and had started even doing test orders for people. So I said, Kareem, I'll make you a shirt, just cover the cost. You're my guinea pig kind of thing. And so by the time I quit, I had 2 suppliers and a basic understanding of measurements. It was just getting the ball rolling, and was telling people, business cards were printed. Some basic things were actually, they were printed. But no website or nothing like that.
Sure. Who needs a website?
Who needs a website? Right.
So that's very interesting. So no sort of apprenticeship in terms of working for a tailor or working for another men's retailer. It was like you know what you liked in terms of fashion and menswear, and now it's like how do I measure? What sort of materials do I need? You're literally jumping into the fire right away.
Right, and I think that the main thing is I had a pretty good vision of, it's not like I'm creating a complex software, so I know what a good dress shirt looks like, and I know that the current offering doesn't have that, and they don't have it custom, so I just had to find someone who could make it happen. And I knew that I had to figure out how to measure, but that was just once I'd figured that out, and then even when I was in Hong Kong, I saw it, I was like, well, they're 9 to 10, 11, depending on which ones you take. There's only so many measurements. They spend 15 minutes with you, so I can hack that system and figure out how to measure. And then you learn a lot in terms of how people want their clothes to be versus, going to a retail offering right now. They don't really offer what I'm trying to put to the market, which is, quality custom clothing for men that fits them, that's styled to the modern trends, and that's styled to their expectations. Those are the 3 things: body, expectations, and style. And no one really had that. So a lot of people say, well, why don't you go work, even my mother, well, why don't you go work for Harry Rosen? And then maybe you go work for a tailor. And then I'm like, well, if you add all that up, in 10 years, and then I'll be ready to start a business, and the opportunity shifts. So you gotta just get into it. Definitely, I talked to as many people as I could.
Sure.
If you work for every bit of your business, and then you go and do it, by that time, the opportunity probably is going to pass.
Interesting. So you get into business. Location? Where are you doing business?
Living room.
In your own living room?
In my own living room. Wherever I could, I would go to people. But I don't even think I was there yet. I was meeting people in my living room, which when I think back now is...
How could I have done that?
It's crazy.
But people came.
People came, which I think is also crazy.
So outside of it, I can see your buddy coming over. But you had strangers coming over?
Strangers coming over.
So
I think they were confused. I mean, we've always tried to kind of leapfrog, so we didn't have a website, and then, you know, people would meet up and then they'd come over. But then when we did have a website, it looked better than a business that would be run in someone's living room. So there was that period of time when we didn't have a space where we were operating out of, you know, an apartment. But it's tough. To be honest, I don't think I lost more than 2 customers by that, maybe even 1. And I had a great close rate because if someone was coming, they were coming for sure. And that, I think, was part and parcel of everybody I got was referred from someone else. So you had to do it. There was no choice. I'd actually come to ING and I think I misunderstood the space. So I didn't end up coming here until 6 months after I had first come here. And I live across the street, as you know, but living room was the lab for it, and I'd clean up every day and try and make sure the dishes were done and they were, you know, it was in good repair. But
nice. So now we are in the beginning, first quarter of 2013. What are some of the highlights so far in the past 2-3 years?
It's crazy. I mean, I think one of the problems as an entrepreneur is you probably don't stop very often. So you don't really look back. I mean, you do is you glance. You don't take time unless it's maybe around New Year's. At the end of the year, you're like, okay, this is how far we've come. I'm trying to get better at that. But, you know, we're at consistent revenues. We have lots of people referring. All of our clients are super happy. I just got off the phone with one client today who you know, and he said, I got 3 different compliments today from 3 different people, and they're just so happy. So you're at a very validated point. I think early on we achieved product market fit, maybe, you know, at the beginning of mid last year, but the quality wasn't there. We really mastered that. So ever since the fall, it's turned into solidifying our operations. We've grown the team, and it's shrunk and grown a couple times, but now it's consistently growing. So we're building our internal processes, and just as of recently, in the last couple of months, being featured in magazines, being featured in blogs, going out and having people say, "Oh, I've heard of Made Clothing," and to me that trips me up because I'm like, "How?
Exactly.
You don't know anybody." So it's starting to become it's gaining momentum, which I think is the biggest thing in 2013. We have, you know, consistent profitability, I'd say, and growing revenues, which is important, and you're able to attract not only new customers, but now it's really important for us to attract people to the brand and to join the teams.
What have been some of the biggest challenges?
From a retail perspective?
You know, just from growing, you know, from getting people to know who you are, and from a retail perspective as well. You know, outside of maybe, you know, having people come into your living room.
Which is tough. I think the main thing was finding consistent product quality. So it's 2 parts. So to put a suit on someone that fits, you need to know how to measure them. And again, it's not just measuring their body, it's measuring their body, their style or the style, and their expectations. And if you can properly agree upon those with the person, and then take measurements that reflect that, then you're okay. But then you got to send that off to a supply partner who's going to take that and make that happen. So Kareem and I have this agreed upon vision of what it's going to look like. We send that off, but is someone going to interpret that and then synthesize that into something that is that? If you're still following. So that was a challenge because it's hard enough for me to learn from scratch how to be a tailor and how to break down a system that says, you know, shoulders should be X wide if someone wants X fit. But when we were getting it back, we were shooting at a moving target because sometimes they'd send the wrong suit. They'd send the right fabric, but they'd get the details wrong. And so it was very hard. And if you look at it from a lean startup perspective, your loop is 5 weeks long before you get these suits when we were getting our suits from overseas. So it took a long time, I think, in retrospect, and I really should have closed that loop.
Are you still getting from overseas the suits, or
Everything's from Canada.
everything's
We're
local?
bringing even the shirts into Canada, but all the accessories, all the suits, all the sport coats are here in Canada. So that was a challenge, and based on nothing more, if you just did the math, the cycle time was 5 weeks before we could figure out whether we were right or wrong. So it took a while for the measurement skill and the operational skill to get there. Because once you can put great suits on people with accuracy, they'll just spread.
Yeah.
Who doesn't want great fitting clothing at a great price?
Sure.
Now I think we're really kind of speeding up, but it gave me a lot of time. So that was the main challenge, was getting the measurements and fit and product quality right.
So let's talk about, how, what Made is, how you guys operate, how people, find out about the brand and how they connect with you guys, and what that process is for a customer.
Okay.
Because you don't have that store.
We don't have a store.
So how do people find you? How do people connect with you? Just we can talk about a few examples maybe. How do you fit them? What is that sort of whole process like, and what is someone's experience like when they come to you guys?
Well, I think experience is the right word, and we try and keep it like that. It starts with the problem, I would say, and the problem that the customer has.
Mm-hmm.
Men traditionally don't like to shop, and they are very much creatures who know what it is they want and they're fulfilling a need.
Yeah.
And not always is that need not just put clothing on back, but put good clothing on back, or put good looking clothing on back to attract X result.
Sure.
So with that understood, which I think was an important part of meeting with people, and it's great business because you get to meet with people. You don't just ship your clothes and have someone else sell them. You get to do customer interviews all the time.
Yeah.
But with that understood, we want to meet with people outside of a store and say, look, we know how to measure, and we'll teach you how your clothes should fit you based on style, your body's fit and expectations. And the teaching is an important component because we're enabling you to do it going forward. We're teaching you how to fish. We're teaching you how to build your wardrobe. And whether you come back to us or not, you're a more discerning customer. So we sit down with someone and go through that educational experience of where they're at, where they want to be, what's realistic, what works best for them, whether it be fabric, styles, colors, anything. If their job, and we do that analysis. And then there's a point in the interview, it doesn't take that long, where they're either enlightened or they've come in educated, but they now know what it is they want. And then we move into picking out the fabrics, the garments, the products that reflect that initial needs analysis, that initial discussion. And then we measure, and then in 3 to 4 weeks, or depending on the product selected, we meet back with the customer. That's really important as well. We fulfill from front to end, and we have that internal saying, a suit's not a suit until it fits. So it's not a scenario where you're buying one off the rack, or you're putting an order in online, and it comes back and you're not happy.
Sure.
We make sure that you are. And from that point, we have your measurements, and you're able to order it again. But what often happens is that people are very confident because
after they get that suit on.
After they get the suit on. It's a slow roast customer experience.
Yeah.
But they really do blossom into, blossom might be the wrong word, but they really do kind of transform, I guess, would be, people who are, heck, I didn't even know that I could get compliments on my clothes. And today I got 3 in the first day I wore it. And we take pride in that, and we want you to keep enjoying that. Because while it might be seen as some as vanity, it's not. I mean, if you're your own brand, your suit is your packaging, and we're your brand advisor. Yeah. So we really do try and position ourselves, to get back to your original question. That's the experience, but we're trying to position ourselves as your fiduciary with respect to wardrobe. We're here to take care of you. We're here to guide you through decisions. You can take as much or as little of our advice as you'd like. And we curate an offering that is reflective of current styles, and that either way you're going to look good. Nice. And it doesn't have to be that complicated. You can just come in and say, hey, I want a black suit. We can do that too.
Sure.
That is the true Made experience, and then you're empowered through your wardrobe. So it's awesome to see. And I think what gives us confidence is when you get that much feedback, an unprovoked, middle of the day, personal phone call from clients. And this happens, 1 to 2 times a day
Yeah.
now that we're picking up in terms of business, you know you're on to something special.
That is amazing.
It might not be easy to replicate. We have to train people really well. We work very hard on our training system, but that's where we know I think we're making a difference, is really understanding and getting them to understand their wardrobe.
So what's the mid or long-term vision for Made? You know, are you looking at a nice boutique retail operation, storefront, or, you know, what's in the cards?
Expansion. I mean, I think.
So what does that mean?
What does that mean?
Yeah.
Well, I think it's tough because you want to focus on quality. So again, making sure that everybody who is going to be representing Made represents them well, and is knowledgeable of product, is knowledgeable of fit.
Yeah.
Is knowledgeable of understanding people's needs, which is more of like a soft skill.
You're not going to have me represent Made, for example.
Not necessarily. We have a system which is meant to train people from wherever they're at to get them to a level of proficiency.
Sure.
And you want to be seen as an expert. So that's important for us. And once we can do that, again, like I said, as the brand grows, I think it'll be easier and easier for us to say and attract high quality people who are bored of working and their talents are underserved, working in a traditional retail environment, even a premium retail environment. It's way more fun. You're on the go more. It's people really, your customers appreciate you every step of the way, and so that's an important thing, is growing the team. But in terms of expanding, and this is needed in a lot more places than just Toronto. And people wear suits all the time. We're very fortunate to have a product that you're wearing a dress shirt, I'm wearing a dress shirt. Most people on a Monday to Friday, I'd say, 30-40% of the population, the population, is wearing some form of clothing that we could conceivably provide. So it's expanding in the sense that we reach out, and I think we have a pretty good market range. People always say, well, what's your market? And there's a lot of people that can benefit. Based on size alone, really tall guys struggle. So let's get out there and get into those networks. But definitely we'd like to see Made across Canada in the next, when that happens, that you get better as you go on as an entrepreneur, knowing that everything either takes half or twice as much.
That's right.
But I think we're well on our way. So moving into another city where there's even a bigger need, and I think we're fortunate in the sense that Toronto is probably the most competitive market. So we've kind of
if you can make it here.
That's the assumption.
Yeah.
It's a pretty big one, but definitely expanding across Canada, and then once we can cement ourselves, and doing so in a sustainable way, that we don't devalue the brand or don't deviate from what the brand is, being open and transparent with people, having fair but premium options that are fairly priced, that we can educate people. So it'll be interesting to see, but I definitely think this could work across Canada in the major cities. And there's some other rebranding things we could do along the way to kind of expand that. And women's wear, we always get asked if we're going to do women's wear every day. Yeah. And it's been tough to crack the male market and understand what will really work. And it's not as simple as providing the same thing, because it's a completely different psyche. So while the product might be the same, the manufacturing could be figured out, the client and the customer part of it is completely different. But that could be a new challenge for us, and there's much more open space there in the market for competition than there is in menswear. So
interesting.
We'll see.
Excellent. Well, listen, Tomas, thanks so much for your time.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it. You're welcome. Where can people find more information about Made, and how can people connect with you?
All right. Well, our website is madeclothing.ca.
All right.
You can follow us on Twitter at madeclothingco. And if you go to the website, you'll just see all of our social feeds there. We're on Facebook as well. There's lots of great images of what we do with our real clients. We're not really big on having models do everything, so you get to see the product in action. So madeclothing.ca, at madeclothingco on Twitter. And
awesome.
Yeah, that's it.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
And my name is Kareem Kanji. Follow me on Twitter at Kareem Kanji. Thank you for joining us. Bye-bye.